I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight, deadly storms ripping through the south with millions at risk right now. The massive system spawning dozens of tornadoes. At least 36 people killed. Look at this bus overturned on top of a school. Hundreds of thousands without power. Gusty wind, flipping trucks, and triggering a dust storm that led to this 50-car pileup. We're tracking it all. Breaking tonight, a new photo of Pope Francis, the first since his hospitalization. We're live from Rome with the latest on his recovery. Growing tensions in the Middle East. Houthi rebels claiming retaliation against a U.S. warship after American strikes in Yemen. New signs of growing frustration over how President Trump's handling the economy, and new questions after the president invokes a wartime act to target Venezuelan gangs. The father of a University of Idaho murder victim speaking out tonight. His reaction to newly released 911 calls from the night of the murders. An American tourist facing questions about a missing college student in the Dominican Republic. What he's now telling our team. The space swap begins. New video of that astronaut greeting that means Butch and Sunny are now one step closer to home after 9 months in orbit. And there's good news tonight about a special surprise for this high school senior and the shot that had both teams jumping for joy.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. President Trump promised a golden age for America, but he never said it would be easy. Cutting the size and scope of government is hard, which is why it's so rarely tried. Change is hard. Ending wars is hard. Delivering bad news is hard. The economy is sending mixed signals. Inflation, job creation, unemployment, and the prospect of trade competition seem to have rattled the markets. The markets don't just impact people with wealth. Their pension plans or retirement savings and everyday Americans are impacted, and it's on a roller coaster. So when does it end?
When it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment of time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. The Federal Reserve
contraction?
Correct. First quarter.
Okay, right here, right now. That is ridiculous.
The president's not relenting on tariffs, but neither are other countries. So where does that lead us? Joining us is Forbes Media Chairman and Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes. Welcome, Mr. Forbes. I actually stopped looking at the market. I've been watching Silence of the Lambs. Yes, sir, you too. I've been watching Silence of the Lambs because it's less scary for me than looking at the stock market. So what's going on with the market?
Well, don't pay too much attention to Hannibal right now, but the uncertainty of the tariffs has really had businesses and individuals halting on their plans. They want to see what the rules of the road are going into the future. So the sooner the president can get this stability in terms of setting these tariff rates, people know what the rules of the game are. Rates don't change 25, 50%, 10%, because that disrupts, it's not just prices, it's the supply chain. Who are you going to buy from in terms of materials, at what price? So the sooner that gets done, the better. But all of that underscores something, and you've been hitting on in the past, the need to pass immediately a big beautiful tax cut bill to get real tailwinds for this economy. And that's what happened in 2017. The tariffs didn't come until after the tax bill was passed. That was good. So in terms of the tax bill, I hope your colleagues, former colleagues, throw away the roadblocks thrown up by the Congressional Budget Office, which is not in the Constitution, and put a big tax cut in place. Not just renewing the tax cuts, Trey, but also cutting individual income tax rates. Get around this blue state obsession with deductibility of SALT, state and local taxes, and cut two tax rates. I hate to get nerdy here, but there are two critical tax rates in the code, 22% and 24% personal tax rates. It goes up to $395,000 for a couple filing jointly. If you cut those two rates down to 15%, that would give a huge boost to the economy. You combine that with what the president proposed during his campaign, including Social Security, getting the corporate tax rate down to 15% for profits made here, products and services sold here. You get this big, huge tax bill passed, and you'll see the markets behaving better. You'll see the economy behaving better. So get this stuff together, and we will be able to see gold on the horizon.
Tonight, the deadly storms that ravage the Midwest and South are now moving east. A federal judge orders the Trump administration to stop deporting immigrants to El Salvador after hundreds have already been sent. And a new development in the case of the college student who went missing in the Dominican Republic. We begin with the devastating storms that have left at least 36 dead. More than 60 reported tornadoes spanning 8 states. Homes in Mississippi torn apart. Winds of 165 miles an hour blasting a town in Arkansas. One survivor says she and her mother are blessed to be alive. The same system already fueling wildfires in the plains. As the storms head east, Ginger Z is tracking it all from the storm zone. Also tonight, a federal judge orders a temporary halt to deportations of suspected Venezuelan gang members. The Trump administration has already sent hundreds to prisons in El Salvador, citing a rarely used wartime declaration. The search for a college student who vanished on spring break takes another turn. Police have now confiscated the passport of a key witness. The manhunt in New York City for a suspect who allegedly set a man on fire in Times Square. Houthi rebels are vowing revenge after U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. President Trump watched the attack unfold from Florida and promises to use, quote, overwhelming lethal force until the Houthis stop attacking ships in the Red Sea. Dozens are killed after a nightclub catches fire, trapping the victims inside. Police say they're investigating whether the operators bribed officials to keep it operating. Starbucks is ordered to pay $50 million to a man who was burned by hot tea. What the company is saying about the verdict. The Vatican releases the first image of Pope Francis in more than a month and an update on his condition. Before March Madness comes Selection Sunday. Who's going to the big dance? And America Strong tonight, the baby they always wanted and the remarkable way he came into their lives.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Tonight on Global National, Prime Minister under pressure. Mark Carney embarks on his first official foreign trip to shore up alliances against President Trump's trade war, while facing calls at home to trigger an election and disclose details of his personal investments.
They're supposed to recuse themselves from anything that would cause them to be in a conflict of interest.
Nightmare nightclub fire. The terrifying moments pyrotechnics sparked a blaze that killed dozens in North Macedonia. Still suffering. 5 years on, the warning from Canadians with long COVID. Plus, tariff travel tiff. How the trade war is changing flight routes and prices.
I think this is going to be great news for Canada's travel and tourism industry.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you.
200 France 24 correspondents around the world.
Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are our headlines this hour. Yemen's Houthis say they will continue their strikes on US and Israeli ships in the Red Sea. despite American airstrikes that killed at least 53 people in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a. The fighting marks the biggest US military operation in the Middle East since Donald Trump returned to the White House. Hundreds of immigrants transferred from the US to El Salvador despite a judge ruling against it. The deportations taking place under an 18th century wartime act last used during World War II. And talks between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin to take place on Tuesday. That's according to Trump, who typed that he hoped to make a big announcement on the war in Ukraine. Glad you could join us. Also coming up this day, 5 years ago, France went into lockdown as the number of COVID-19 cases started to spiral upwards. 5 years on, many people are still suffering from that virus. Diagnosed with long COVID, they're left with a range of symptoms and often little support.
This is Asia Now.
Hi there, it is 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 a.m. in New Delhi, 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Yasmin Yonkers at this hour. U.S. officials are optimistic that a Ukraine-Russia ceasefire deal could be close, with President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin set to discuss a possible truce. South Korea braces for the Constitutional Court's ruling on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment as tensions escalate, with protests and tight security. China's economy showing signs of a modest pickup in activity in the first 2 months of 2025, a slew of key data beating expectations, adding to signs that it may be on track to hit the 5% growth target set for this year.
They have no clocks. Wednesday, 8:30 on ABC TV and ABC iView.
And unlicensed. Vigils held for the dozens of young people killed in a nightclub fire in North Macedonia. A deliberately lit bushfire burns towards a small coastal town north of Perth. And Space Swap, a new crew arrives at the International Space Station to relieve stranded astronauts. Hello, I'm Meredith Ching and this is ABC News coming to you from the land of the Darug people. Four corners.
Africa News. The news.
Angolan President João Lourenço, currently chair of the African Union, has called for an immediate ceasefire in the ongoing conflict in the eastern DRC. Lourenço urged all parties to stop hostilities starting at midnight local time on Sunday. The Trump administration is considering an expanded travel ban, potentially targeting citizens from up to 43 countries. This new proposal could go beyond the restrictions imposed during his first term. A draft list circulating within the administration includes a red list of all 11 countries, including several African nations, Somalia, Sudan and Libya, alongside Afghanistan, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Syria, Venezuela and Yemen. The South African presidency has expressed regret over the expulsion of its ambassador to the US, Ibrahim Rasool. In a post on X, South Africa has called on all stakeholders to maintain diplomatic decorum in handling the matter and reiterated its commitment to a strong relationship with the US. The statement comes after the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, announced on Friday that Rasool was no longer welcome, accusing him of being a race-baiting politician critical of President Donald Trump. Rubio's statement followed a webinar where Rasool discussed demographic shifts in the US and the Trump administration's policies. This read...
This is Sky News, the headlines. A nightclub fire claims the lives of 59 people in North Macedonia. The initial investigation says pyrotechnics inside the building most likely caused the fire. The Health Secretary refuses to say whether the government will pull back on plans to freeze some disability payments, but says the current system is unsustainable. Newcastle United win their first major football trophy for 70 years after beating Liverpool 2-1 at Wembley in the Carabao Cup final. Pope Francis is seen for the first time in a month as the Vatican releases a new photograph of him celebrating Mass in hospital. A new crew arrives at the International Space Station, allowing 2 stranded astronauts to return to Earth after 9 months in orbit. And a special report from the Falklands as we gauge the reaction of islanders to shifting defence priorities thousands of miles away in Europe. Good morning, welcome to the programme. Good morning, welcome to the programme. 59 people, many of them teenagers, lost their lives when a fire broke out inside a nightclub in North Macedonia. More than 150 people were injured, 18 of them are in a critical condition. An initial investigation suggests it broke out after pyrotechnics being used inside the building set the roof on fire.
Very good morning to you on this March 17th. Labour's welfare rift deepens.
The Health Secretary claims too many people are written off work as the government prepares to cut disability benefits for millions.
Some backbenchers argue draconian cuts to welfare will leave millions of people on the breadline.
So will this party infighting force the government to U-turn on its plans?
The former head of Ofsted has hit out at the Education Secretary, accusing her of putting the interests of unions ahead of children.
Geordies are waking up bleary-eyed this morning as Newcastle United beat Liverpool to win the Carabao Cup yesterday, their first domestic trophy in 70 years.
I put it to you, not waking up at all. Prince Harry is, though. His immigration files are set to be made public. Did he take drugs? Did he not? An American judge says his visa application must be released by tomorrow.
Happy St Patrick's Day. Today we bring you the luck of the Irish as GB News heads to Downpatrick for the annual festivities.
And as the Colonel of the Irish Guards, Princess of Wales, is set to make a solo visit to celebrate St Patrick's Day, and they've got very big dogs, those guards.
Shakespeare's birthplace is set to be decolonised over concerns that the playwright promoted white supremacy. We'll be speaking to Downton Abbey actor Peter Egan later on this morning.
And in sports, so it is all about Newcastle United. And I'm waking up bleary-eyed. I'm not even a Newcastle United fan as they win their first major domestic trophy then after beating Liverpool 2-1 in the Carabao Cup final at Wembley, the first time for 70 years. In tennis, Brit Jack Draper has won his biggest title yet, winning at Indian Wells, which is known as the unofficial 5th Grand Slam. And the unofficial 5th major in golf is the Players' Championship in Florida. And Rory McIlroy is in a 3-hole playoff later to win it.
Hello, good morning. We've got plenty of fine and settled weather in store across the UK today with high pressure dominating. There'll be some sunshine, but temperatures are still pretty disappointing for the time of year. I'll have all the details later.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this St Patrick's Day. Kate Miller Falcha I'm Eamon Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Have a good life. Bye-bye.